Hello, everybody. So, I hope everybody's blessed and doing well. Here we are again today, and we are about to start, and I have some goodies. It actually kind of looks like somebody's been playing on the board, but we're going to explain that and straighten it all out. So I had, it's kind of like when I'm coming into this, I'm thinking over a few days, what am I going to talk about this time? And then when it becomes, especially the day of, I'm like, whoa. So which thing am I going to narrow it down to talk about? So it gets interesting. I do have some exciting testimonies I want to share with you and some stories. And I want to take a moment now, and then we'll come right back to talk about something else. So here's what I need from you. If you like an update on information, please let me know. If you don't like it and you'd prefer we just stick with study material and health related, let me know. Although I think this other is very health related. Because I can't read your mind, and I certainly can't read your expressions and everything else. So can I detour for a second? Well, let me give you this one first. This is from Melissa. It said, before my mom's mastectomy last year, we did TKM on her daily. Whenever I would place my hands over her breast, because she had a breast tumor, using the extraction method. That's left hand on, right hand over, 90-degree angle, focal point is the center of the palm, and that pulls out, that extracts. That's why it's called the extraction method. She said, I would imagine the tumor separating from her body. It wasn't a visualization technique. The image would just pop into my head. I shared the vision with my mom, hoping that I wasn't giving her false hope. After applying the extraction, we did the 26. And you know that whether it's left or right breast, the left 26 is always the most vital. But you got to get both of them open. So she said, and I did them on both sides and the 13 sequence. Right after her surgery, the surgeon informed us that the tumor was definitely cancerous and that the lymph nodes that they removed looked and felt very suspicious. But when the results came back from the lab, the lymph nodes were totally clear, and the surgeon also shared in passing that when she removed the tumor, it was somehow separated from the body. So my mom and I just stared at each other in wonder. That's a great story. I love that. So I want to share something because it's important. There's so many things that I don't share. And some of it is because I don't know what you want, what you don't want. The other part is I've already been cut off one time. They have a lot of things out there running algorithms, searching for things to smush people. So I got this from a client the other day. Let me share this, all right? I'm not supposed to name names. So it's somebody named Bill G. But if you watch the video, you'll see that who it is on the video is a guy named Bill Gates. I'm sure nobody's heard of this guy. So I wanted to share that with you. If you want to see, this right here in orange is the website to go to unless it gets taken off. Now this is him speaking. This is at the Pentagon. It's a Pentagon video of him speaking at one of the rooms in the Pentagon, and it names what that is and everything, just like a standard recording that they would do of all their stuff. So this is Insider. And what he's doing is he's presenting to the CIA. And everybody knows that he has always been an advocate of vaccines, but you don't understand how deep he goes into manipulating vaccines to manipulate people. I'll just kind of leave it at that. This is a short video, less than 10 minutes. Because I had a client the other day that was saying, they've been reading about all this stuff and they've seen the documents and the records and everything else, and they shared that with somebody, actually to an attorney, and the attorney said, nah, it's the old slough off. Oh, how could that be? Not Bill Gates. And if it was Bill Gates, and somebody do something about it and everything else. Well, then, can I just say you're not living in the real world? These kind of things, and I'm talking about the mindsets, have gone on since the very beginning of time. okay? So as we gain more power and technology and everything else, you can use that in many, many different ways. And that's what he's showing right there. Basically, in brief, can I say, this is way back in 2005. So it shows the mindset. Imagine what's been able to be developed over the last 15 years. I don't know how far I can go with saying these things. What I'd like to do is bring you up to date on a lot of different things that are important. Not to get in fear, not to get overly concerned, but here's my purpose. So we know what to pray about, and we know what to stand up against, and we know not to become ignorant victims to things that are out there, like we have already in so many ways. So that's my purpose. One of the things I'm thinking about doing is we have another website called preparednessinfo.org. Or you could go to our website under resources at the top, where the top menu is, and under resources, click on Be Prepared, and that will take you to that site. It's not on there now. None of those things are on there now. It's about TKM. But I'm trying to find a way that doesn't actually put my neck in the noose, because these things are being taken offline all the time, and I don't know, maybe by the time you click that, that won't be online either. And if you'll notice, it's tricky, so that it's tricky. It's not YouTube, it's UTU.be, okay? Some of the doctors and different ones that are sending me this information and lots of other information is also talking to me about what they have set up, because you know, you got these Facebook, Twitter, and everything else is being watched. And they have algorithms to pick up on words and everything else, just like I was shut off in my, it was either at the end of the lecture or for the class last time. So they're trying to come up with a way that they can share information without having bad things happen, at the very least being cut off and silenced and it being removed. So much for our Constitution and freedom of speech. Okay, so you can look at that or you can not. And if you don't want this kind of information, then why don't you email me and I won't provide it. If you do, let me know, and I might be able to find a source to point to where you can find these things. I'm talking about things that have been checked, they're documents, they're facts, it's from the horse's mouth, they're not hearsay, there's no conspiracy theory, it's all facts, okay? So let me know. All right, so I want to give you an update on the current COVID-19 that's going around, which is interesting. What I have said from the very beginning, you may have heard this. Yesterday, there was a release that a lab in Australia has definitely determined that it is man-made. Now, the words they use are man-altered, because they can't say man-made. What they do is they take a virus and you manipulate it and you alter it to what you want to do. So they've proven that. Okay. Some things that they have found is that it has been made, they find out that they detect that it's been made to be much more contagious. So easily contagious to humans. So this concept that you've heard about, it came from bats or can transfer to animals, that's not what they're finding with this. This is designed to be human to human, to be very contagious. All right? So now let me give you the other side. What's happened through this time is a lot of things are being revealed, and that's important. The things in the darkness, the evil and everything else needs to come to light. And when you stir up things, that's happening a lot. Here's another one. Over this time of self-imprisonment, quarantine, that there's a silver lining to most every one of these clouds and lots of great fruit and benefit if we focus on those. It's, remember, back to choice, our choices. So there's a lot of great benefits. Let me sum it up in this. So far, to this point, and may I also say that the virus is not the plan. The virus is the vaccine that's been around for quite a while, that has been manipulated. You can watch one of these 15-year-old videos and see how they're manipulating. I'm saying too much. So, okay, move on. So, if we came to the point right now and that this was stopped, I believe that except for the deaths of the COVID, there were actual deaths of the COVID, that we could turn everything around to actually be far, far better than it was. We're very, very creative. I love how Americans, at least the way they've always been historically, they get up, and when they get backed in a corner or a challenge, they get creative and come out with some of the greatest new inventions, ideas, and concepts to move us forward in a greater prosperity and love of mankind. And that's my hope, that we do that and we understand that we're all in this together and that no one has the end in their hands except God. He's got the end in his hands. Doesn't matter what anybody plans. Doesn't matter what you find out, what you read, what anybody's trying to do, how much power somebody's got, or anything else. He's got the end in his hands. So that's it, period. Now, I've got a really good one here that I would like to read, and then I want to get into this. I want to give you something out of the 3 and 4 book that's also in 2 other books in a condensed way. So hang on for that. This is about anemia due to severe bleeding from cancer. This was sent in, said, I have serious problem. This is in the past. This is not today for the lecture. Was sent in with a problem with anemia. The HGB is 5, cannot take blood transfusion. Can anyone help? This is actually on TKM Talk. So Sandy sent that in, and what was sent to Sandy from Sandra was kidney sequence. Brilliant, I love. TKM Talk is such a great resource. She said kidney sequence will stimulate cell production. Absolutely right. I have this on good authority, Dr. King. Oh, who is that? Okay, Dr. King. This was sent in by Wayne. Thanks, Wayne Vinton, for doing that. And so a response here, thank you, Wayne. Very interesting what happened. Blood loss was the cause, and I was out of town. Kidney sequence was applied. After blood test, the doctor came in and he said, the average person replaces blood cells at a rate of 1%. However, your body has the remarkable ability to replace at a rate of 15%. That's 15 times the normal rate. Following? Now this lady is 86 years old. All this garbage about, oh, too old. Depends on what you do. So it had to be the kidney sequence that was giving her body that ability. Thank you very much for your response. So another comment that came in after that, if bleeding, do TKM stop and seal? Everybody knows that, right? That's the opposite of extraction. The extraction is left hand down. This one is right hand down or left over it. It has a closing, sewing up, so it closes wounds and stops bleeding, even an arterial bleed. And they said after that, would love more info. That was from Katie. So the reply from Sandy is, thank you, Katie. I did the stop and seal before getting her to the hospital. So she did apply that. I've experienced this power and benefit in past experiences. The problem is she bled so severely as she has uterine cancer and has been waiting on surgery. Thank you for all your immediate responses as it makes this site so beneficial. Thank you again. So again, all you guys, guys, that's kind of like mankind, that's male and female. So all you guys on TKM Talk, please stay active and talk to one another, ask the questions, and please provide the answers. It is a huge blessing to many, many people. Can I give one more before I move on? Because we got a lot to talk about. A couple of years ago, I love testimonies, so that's why I'm doing this. Again, if you don't want testimonies, let me know. My brother-in-law was having a major heart attack. My sister called me from the hospital bathroom, and I told her to hold a step for heart attack. That's left little finger and T5. When she did, the PVCs on the heart monitor stopped, and his cardiac rhythm was normal. That's not coincidence. After she stopped about 20 minutes, so a 20 minutes delay, the chest pain started again. We have numerous stories of this, including cardiologists in hospitals doing this. And the PVCs came back because stopping the heart attack procedure doesn't stop the cause. So she kept it up on and off all night. That means anytime it started back up, she stopped it with the TKM. The next 3 days, the doctor said that he would have had much worse heart damage if that hadn't been done, although the doctor simply couldn't explain it. There's no explanation for why such a severe situation didn't have such major damage. You've actually heard that said from what happened close to 30 years ago from cardiologist Dr. Cowden in his first experience at using it at Medical City Hospital. My brother-in-law is still doing very well. Great, I am so glad. That's from Julie. Thank you, Julie, for that. Breech baby. Now, we work with some people, a number of people, and I tell you, this is beyond like the old baby boom, you know, the baby boomers? So this is very, very important, and this is not uncommon. So this is about a breech baby. When my daughter was pregnant and the baby hadn't turned, after she had done everything she knew to do, then we did R&R first stratum sequence. That's to turn a breech baby around. The baby turned, and shortly thereafter, turned back. That can happen. We figured out what might be the problem was, we couldn't figure out what the problem was until I remembered that she had a large scar on her abdomen. And how Dr. King said that scar tissue inhibits proper energy circulation. May I say, yes, I'll confirm that. So we treated the scar tissue with a red laser once, thoroughly. Then reapplied R&R first stratum again, success. The baby stayed in position and everything was fine. Thank you, Phyllis Porter, for that. So, I've got some exciting information for me that is so encompassing. So we're going to cover some groundwork with this, and I hope you got this because I'm fixing to erase the orange. We're going to cover some groundwork with that, and what it is, I'll just tell you, we're talking about in level 3 and 4 book, volumes 3 and 4, pages 284 through 293. What do you mean? All those pages? Yes. There's 5 sequences. Those are the R&R. R&R the stratums. That's the revitalizing and redirecting of each stratum 1 through 5. But it's done in a particular way. So let's look at it and we'll talk about it. So what we've got here is we have starting with 5th, then 4th, then 3rd, then 2nd. You can't see it for that. So 2nd, which goes up over there, and then 1st. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But when you're doing the sequence, you do it in the correct order. So each sequence is not altered. But the order of doing the sequences, separate sequences, is altered, and you do it as though it's one sequence. Now there are sequences with more steps. What this equals to is a 15-step sequence, but extraordinarily profound. And I'm going to explain a bit about that now. So let me make some room here. And what does this help? One of the biggest things and the specialties that it helps is it needs to be done to address root cause on a TKM perspective energetic level of cancer. Root cause of development of cancer, any type, anywhere. Wow, that's very encompassing. Do you realize what, I'll talk to myself, do you realize what you just said? Do you realize what I just said? Yes, this is essential. This goes back to when we talk about how you have the different elements and it takes 4 out of 5 stratums doing something, the key word here is intermingling. Intermingling is never a good thing. One pathway or one stratum's energy intermingling with another. Now for those that understand TKM, you know when you're checking pulses and how do you determine intermingling? Well, that's when you're checking the 543-216 and you're feeling this should either be fluff with tone, all of them should be fluff with tone, or the stratum texture that is in that stratum, like 5th for 5th. That would be the pounding, boom, boom. If there's any other texture there, there's intermingling. More clarification, if you feel more than 2 textures, I get this from people a lot. Well, I feel this one under a finger, but I feel another texture as well. That's conclusion. That's more of a chronic intermingling. And when you have that, then it can lead to other problems. I'm not saying any intermingling leads to cancer, because you've got to have intermingling 4 out of 5 stratums, and there's only 5 stratums dealing with the 144,000 functions of the body. 144,000 functions. So question, what does this 15-step sequence help? 144,000 functions. On which way? Well, 5th stratum, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, in a particular way, in an encompassing way. It helps ascending and descending. So all ascending and descending of the stratum. And there's a particular order that you're doing this. For instance, you'll see here like step 1, and what this is illustrated is left sequence. So if you understand how to do left sequence, you know that you're just switching the R's to L's and the L's to R's in both the columns. And then you'll be doing the right sequence. And it tells you about which side to sit on. So for this section here, let me get something a little brighter. It says sit left for when you're doing R&R 5th. Now, here's the other side. It doesn't really matter for that one, because what's the first step? You're holding the 6s. I just go to the foot of the person. Head's down there, the feet are here, and I'll just hold both 6s, or I'll cross either way, as long as your right is on the left and the left is on the right. That's what's important. So, what do? Because if I'm facing them, my right is going to be on their left. So it's there automatic. Then what I do when I do step 2 is then I go to the head of the person. And my right will be on the right and the left will be on the left. So if I'm at the head and the feet are down there, this is my right, that's their right. So it's easy. I just do this. And I just hold their force. I know it's complicated, right? So you have leeway here, but I do have that because it's in the book. Now, for this, it says reposition to the right side when you apply this. That's important. We need to do that. As we go through these steps, doing it exactly like it is, which is self-explanatory, the lines that you see in between are dividing the sequences, but they're run together. That's why they're numbered 1 through 15, because you apply it like a sequence. Why do you have it like that? Because I simplified this in our missions book. So, non-toxic, non-invasive reference book of what? This is levels 1 through 4, plus the EMT in here. This is a missions book. They don't care what color's related, or what taste, or what sound, and all of these other type of things. They want to know, what do you do for what? And that's what this book is about. It's really lean down. In other words, it's not as thick as a single level 3 and 4. But it has the information of the sequences of levels, well, volumes 1 through 4, plus the EMT. Now, here's one way you do it, is when it comes to this page, that's all of them combined. And no, I could not put all of the pathways on there the way that they separately are, because it started overlapping too much. But you'll see what I have on the board is the same way that it is in the book. So there's a number of missionaries and different ones that are using this. So that's what this is from. Now, we have this. If you're interested, you've had to have had some training for us to sell this outside of the mission field. Well, Spanish? Okay. We also have it in Spanish. The entire book is in Spanish as well. Let's go back to the application. What this does is it separates back out the intermingling, whether you're feeling it in pulses or whether you have, let's say, a diagnosis of cancer. But what else could apply if it's not cancer? Do you have a benign tumor? You can't have a benign tumor unless 4 out of 5 stratums have intermingled. Are there moles and extra moles occurring? Let's put it this way. Something that happens from an intermingling is what we call a physical accumulation from a TKM energetic perspective. And what is that? That means anything that's physical in or on the body that's not naturally supposed to be there. So this is the sequence to do this. This is one of my favorite. I know it's long and it's not the easiest thing to do on yourself. There's some of this stuff you can't do exactly like it is on yourself. How are you going to reach your 9? And how are you going to do some of these other things, especially with the same hand? That's going to get tricky. But this is one of the most profound applications. I would say when I was dealing with cancer before, this was the #1 thing in TKM that I did. Anybody that is dealing with any type of cancer anywhere in the body, this and TKM is the top priority. But outside of that, it works for accumulations and it helps all of these. Let's say you're checking pulses and you feel everything upset. Well, we've talked about that before. You could do the #1 sequence to move it. You could do the spleen sequence to revitalize it. You could do 24, which deals with chaos. So you could do 26 and opposite 24 to help settle everything down. Well, those are to kind of smooth the waters or revitalize or to get moving, but it doesn't really directly address all these different things. This will. It's not as short as a 3 or 4 step sequence, but it is much more thorough and encompassing for the body. So another thing that you can do is, what if you're getting pulse patterns and they keep repeating? In other words, you get a sequence like what I talked about last lecture, where somebody was working on someone based on symptoms that made sense. It's even written in a book, but they didn't get any results whatsoever. So what they did is they checked pulses, and then they followed the pulses, and everything changed. And the light bulb came on. Pulses tell you what's going on. So now let me tell you about complications in pulses. So that establishes that pulses are priority over symptoms. Now, what happens if you're addressing pulses and it's even more difficult, that it doesn't change when you're applying what it says to apply? Certain textures, certain stratums for certain sequences. Then, if it's more than one, you could pull out, if it's 4th stratum, you could do R&R 4th stratum. But if you've got several, or if all of them are chaotic, all 12 pulses are chaotic, surface and deep. This is one that you could do that's not only to calm down so that you could feel, but to directly treat, to start getting everything put back in order so that you can break the pattern so that it doesn't repeat again. Very, very important. I can't say enough about how vital this is. It's not that long. There is another special little step in here. You don't see this very often. But when you get to the 14th step, which is dealing with R&R 1st stratum, that you'll see that the right hand goes to the left 9, but it's not the regular 9. It's the 9 on the blade. That is very, very critical. That is another aspect of bladder pathway. If you'll look and study bladder pathway, you have one that comes down after it goes over the head and starts coming past the 4 and comes down to the 3 and 11 area, and it splits off. So you have different branches. The one that goes next to the spine is the main one we work on. That would be the one that the 9 is on. But there's another branch that goes off and goes down through and on the back side of the scapula. That is the one on the blade. And it has some specialty things that really need to be taken care of. I would say, because we talked about the breech baby, that is something else that you're including on that sequence that was applied. That's a 9 on a blade as well. You're actually holding 3 locations, but you've got that in the book. So one of the things I wanted to do was share my excitement about how powerful this is. And I'll tell you what I'm feeling and thinking right here as I talk about all this, is I really would like that I was on a table right here and there were 2 people or more working on me doing this to demonstrate to you how wonderful it is for me. So please apply this. Let me know your questions, your emails, your suggestions, and I will see you soon again. But until then, have joy. Know that that's what God intends for us, and that when it comes to any health condition or situation, that no matter what the naysayers or how learned or intelligent they are, or how powerful the sources are that tell you, there's always answers, okay? Always answers. So God bless you, and we'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye.